is one of your most valuable assets. In the end, you don't need a massive goal, you need a daily system of actions. Don't just say, I want to write a book. Say, I will write for 30 minutes every morning. Turn a wish into a schedule. Turn a dream into a habit. When actions become part of your daily rhythm, procrastination loses its grip. And don't forget, reward yourself. Every time you push through resistance and take action, celebrate a moment of rest, a small treat, a kind word to yourself. These reinforce the behavior you want to repeat. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to begin. And then keep going. Day by day, actions become habits. Habits shape who you are. And who you are is not forged in the easy moments, but in the ones where you chose to act, even when it was hard. Procrastination and perfectionism only hold power when you stay silent and step back. But the moment you act, they lose it all. And you become the most powerful, courageous, and consistent version of yourself. My friend, let me ask you a simple yet profound question. What do you believe separates successful people from everyone else? Is it luck, talent, circumstances? I've observed, reflected, and lived long enough to realize it's none of those. The true difference lies in self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It's not an innate trait, it's a habit forged day by day, hour by hour, even in your most exhausted, directionless, or unmotivated moment. Have you ever promised yourself, I'll start tomorrow, only to come up with an excuse when tomorrow arrived? You're not alone. Most of us have been there. But here's the truth. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at the most important trust you'll ever need, the trust in yourself. Discipline isn't restriction. It's not the removal of freedom. In fact, discipline is the foundation of freedom. When you gain control over your actions, you stop being a slave to emotions, to circumstances, to delay. You become the master, and that feeling, that deep, steady sense of being in control of your life is one of the most powerful and peaceful states a person can experience. So where does discipline begin? With the smallest acts. Don't wait for a grand surge of motivation. Make your bed in the morning. Drink a glass of water. Get up when the alarm rings without hitting snooze. These seemingly trivial actions are the first bricks in building a solid foundation. Discipline doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from commitment. Commitment to doing what you said you'd do, regardless of your mood. Commitment to showing up for yourself, even on your darkest days. It's not about forcing yourself, it's about choosing to stand beside the best version of who you can become. And then something remarkable happens. The more you keep your word to yourself, the more you begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes the fuel that feeds your persistence. And that persistence is what takes you further than talent or luck ever could. When you train discipline, you also develop a form of invisible power, mental strength. It doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, but it holds you steady when everything around you is shaking. It carries you forward when others have already given up. It's the inner flame, small but unwavering, that lights your entire path forward. Mental strength doesn't come from never failing. It comes from not letting failure define who you are. You fall and you rise. You're tired, but you move anyway. Each time you forge a stronger armor, more resilient, more grounded than before. Understand this. Disciplined people aren't that way because they always want to take action. They're disciplined because they decided to act before emotions had a chance to interfere. They don't wait to feel like it. They follow one principle. I do this because I chose this path. Don't confuse discipline with harshness. Training discipline doesn't mean abandoning joy or living a rigid life. On the contrary, discipline gives birth to a deeper, longer-lasting joy, the kind that comes from knowing you're progressing, growing, and mastering yourself. Maybe today you only wrote a few lines, worked out for 15 minutes, or learned a single new thing. But if you do that every day, you will no longer be the same person. You are shaping a new identity, steadfast, solid, unshaken by temptation or disappointment. And here's the secret I want you to never forget. Intentional repetition creates greatness. Not a single explosive effort, not short-lived glory, but quiet, steady, conscious, purposeful repetition. That is the true foundation of lasting success. You don't have to be superhuman. You just have to be the one who shows up every day, who keeps your promises even when tired, discouraged, or still waiting on results, because results don't come overnight, but they always come to those who do not quit. Start today. Don't try to do everything. Just choose one small action. Do it every day and treat it like a sacred commitment. Soon, discipline will no longer be something you struggle to maintain. It will become part of who you are. And when that happens, nothing will be able to stop you. Not because you're never afraid, but because you act even in fear. Not because you're always strong, but because you refuse to let weakness make decisions for you. My friend, let today's action be a declaration of a new future. Let discipline be the gift you give yourself. Let each day be living proof that you no longer live by fleeting emotions, but by a clear and powerful long-term vision. I believe in you. Not because I'm blandly optimistic, but because I've seen people like you, step by step, day by day, build what once seemed impossible. And now, it's your turn. There's an invisible enemy that always shows up the moment you decide to begin. Just as you sit down to write, start exercising, or change an old habit, it appears. Quiet, persistent, relentless. It doesn't arrive with a fierce face, but with familiar whispers. You can do it later. You're tired today, start fresh tomorrow. Don't push too hard, skipping one day won't hurt. I call it resistance. Resistance is not an event, it's an energy, a force that rises every time you attempt something meaningful. And here's what you need to know. Resistance never truly goes away, but you can outmaneuver it and win every single day. My friend, I'm not telling you a fairy tale about unbreakable willpower. I'm sharing a truth that anyone striving for something better has faced. Resistance is part of the mind. It's not your enemy unless you allow it to take control. Resistance feeds on delay, fear, and lack of clarity. The more vague your goals are, the more mentally drained you feel, the easier it is for resistance to pull you under. So the first step to beating resistance is not trying harder, it's making your goals clearer, more specific, and simpler. Don't write, I need to write a chapter today. Write, I will write 500 words from 8 to 9 a.m. Don't say, I'll exercise. Say, I'll walk for 20 minutes right after breakfast. The more specific you are, the less space resistance has to thrive. Next, lower the starting threshold as much as possible. Resistance is strongest when you're still thinking, but it begins to lose power the moment you take action. Tell yourself, I'll just do this for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes are your first sword against inertia. Sometimes simply starting is the biggest win of the day. And once you begin, you usually go farther than you thought. Action is the most powerful antidote to resistance. Resistance also loves to deceive you. It makes you believe you have to wait until you feel ready. But remember this, you will never feel fully ready. Emotions fluctuate. Commitment does not. Anchor yourself to commitment, not to your mood. Also understand that resistance is clever. It doesn't just hold you back with laziness. It disguises itself in logic. You should research more before you begin. Read a bit more first. Study just a little longer before taking action. But if you look closer, you'll see it's just fear wearing the mask of knowledge. The only way to break this cycle is to start imperfectly. Let action lead. Learn along the way. Adjust as needed. But don't wait for the fog to clear, because that moment never comes. Another critical strategy is identifying your personal resistance patterns. Observe yourself. What time of day do you tend to quit? What task usually triggers distractions? Who or what tends to derail your focus? Write down these weak points and create counter strategy. If you're often distracted at home, change your environment. If you scroll your phone every morning, leave it in another room overnight. Every barrier you remove brings you one step closer to consistency. Don't forget the power of emotional cues. Before you start your task each day, ask yourself, how will I feel once this is done? Connect